Over the last 50 years, the birth rate across the developed world has fallen into a steep decline. In 1970, women in OECD nations were having an average of 2.8 children. Today, that number has dropped to 1.58. Maintaining a stable population size requires a replacement rate of 2.1 children per family. As Elon Musk has observed, the United States and most of Europe now sit well below this threshold. Historically, a culture's basic health is measured by its drive to survive and pass itself to a new generation. The modern West is a rare example of a viable civilization that has stopped encouraging its own continuation. This demographic contraction is occurring at the height of Western wealth and freedom. The trend suggests that the root of the problem lies in the values that once made survival a priority. Values are the invisible rules people choose to live by. To see those values clearly, we can look at cinema, which acts as a reflection of a society's core beliefs. For decades, Disney has been the most influential source of stories on the planet. Their reach was built on adapting ancient archetypes, fables and myths that spoke to universal patterns in human behavior. Recently, Disney has seen a decline in both the quality of its stories and its connection with the audience. This shift points to a loss of the foundational ideas that once anchored their narratives. The stories Disney has stopped telling mirror the beliefs the West has begun to abandon. Analyzing these changes offers insight into why our demographic drive has stalled. In the classic era of Snow White, Pinocchio, and The Lion King, stories located the source of trouble within the individual. Character flaws like jealousy, greed, or laziness were the primary obstacles for the hero to overcome. These classic heroes often begin by rejecting their duties. They seek unbound freedom, retreating into a world with no worries and no responsibilities. Redemption in these stories follows a specific path. The hero saves their community only after they master their own impulses and accept a defined role within their society. These narratives taught that maturity is the process of voluntarily accepting rules and obligations. Modern narratives, like Frozen, reflect a different worldview. In this framework, the weight of social expectations and cultural rules takes the role of the antagonist. The anthem, Let It Go, celebrates a break from these structures. The lyrics describe a world with no rules and no right or wrong, framing the abandonment of social standards as a moment of triumph. Yet even this fantasy of absolute freedom requires order. To build her sanctuary, Elsa relies on the laws of architecture and geometry. Creation of any kind depends on the existence of rules. By removing the hero's duty to society, these stories shift away from themes of maturation. They become fantasies of remaining in a state of rebellion. This perspective follows the logic of Jean-Jacques Rousseau's Noble Savage, the idea that humans are born good and are only corrupted by the influence of civilization. Current cultural trends have adopted this view, casting traditional institutions like the family and gender roles as systems of control. When a culture views its own foundations as oppressive, its members begin to see the dismantling of that culture as a moral necessity. This cultural shift connects directly to the birth rate seen earlier. If a generation is taught that their heritage is a source of harm, the choice to pass that heritage on to children becomes difficult to justify. We see the psychological results in a generation that has abandoned social roles. The result is often a state of anxiety and a lack of clear purpose, leading to movements focused on tearing down existing structures. The psychiatrist Viktor Frankl observed that humans do not find meaning through a lack of restraint. Instead, he found that meaning comes from our relationships, our obligations, and our love for others. Absolute freedom from social expectations often leads to isolation. It removes the very structures required to build a life with a sense of direction. There is a reason almost all classic fairy tales conclude with a wedding and the promise of a family. Marriage and family formation are acts of faith in what comes next. They are the primary ways a culture ensures its own future. In this context, heroism is the voluntary choice to carry the weight of those societal roles. For the West to survive, it must find a way to tell its children a story that makes the future worth building.